everybody. Welcome to our usual weekly time together. I'm so glad that you joined in, and I hope that you join in with the chat, which I'll turn on and enable in a minute. But I'm so glad to see you. I'm glad to share with you the reminding encouragement that the future begins now. And so I'm Robin Gould, and I'm glad that you came back to Lamb Network for another one of our shows. And just hope that this will be a blessing to you. So again, I'm Dr. Robin Gould. My website is newcovenantpath.com. And you can just go there. There's contact information. I have blogs. I have a bunch of podcasts. And feel free to, go poke around and see what you can find there. If something interests you, I have Becky books I've written, BEKY, Building and Encouraging the Kingdom of Yeshua. Those are available on Amazon. Just type in my name or BEKY, and there's other authors that write Becky books, women. They're really great books. I really encourage you to check them out if you have not. So anyway, I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad that we can spend some time together. And I wanted to do another one of those shows where it's a little bit more of stream of thought than sharing a lot of screens and doing like a heavier study. I think sometimes it's sort of like when you work out, you eat a lot of protein and you have the day of you're eating all the protein. The next day you're lifting the weights, and then the next day you're resting and letting what develop. So I think that there is some wisdom in just sort of pacing and in some ways alternating what we do. So I thought we would kind of do that today. And I also had a topic to discuss and to kind of to stream. So actually, let me apologize for the light ring or ring light. I don't know what it's called. I think it's a ring light. See it? It's in my glasses. And I always try to spare you that because it's a pet peeve. And if you're new to this show, you'll hear about it because I do talk about it. I think this is comments I go to. So post a comment if you're watching so I know that it's working and I'm in the right place, because I think before I was not doing chat right. Unless I am. I don't know. No, I think I was right here. Okay, so if you think of it, feel free to just jump on and post, anything you want to say. I'm going to try to be more vigilant with the chat today if possible. I know a lot of people watch this after it's archived because it's so hard, live things, right? It's so hard to plan and sit when you know something will be posted later and you can watch it anytime. So I understand that. But anyway, so let's kind of get into what we're talking about. I have a few notes. I do have a couple of photos, but I wanted to talk about something a little bit more generic, but of course, nothing to do with the Bible is generic at all. And if you're a follower of the Torah, of the Bible, then you know what I'm talking about. So that leads me into what the topic is today. So the title I give this one is called, "Why is following the Bible so hard?" That's the question. Oh, someone's chatting. Let's see who it is. Oh, it's Barbara. Hi, Barbara. She's watching. So I know, look, I saw the chat and Barbara's here. Now I'm very comfortable because I have her. Barbara's my friend, a very close friend. And we went to Israel together the first time I went, and again, another time. And we have really I have enjoyed my time with her and many conferences, and she's an encouragement to me. So I'm glad to see her here. So hi, Barbara. So anyway, here is the topic. So why is following the Bible so hard? So I hear this a lot. So obviously not everybody in the world or in your community, in your circle, in your family, even in your immediate family, follows the Bible. Right. So you get a lot of different questions. And I'm sure you hear this all the time. Like, what is it about this book that draws you in? Why are you so interested? Why do you even care? I even have family members that are wonderful people. They're not necessarily into any sort of faith or whatever, but they wonder, they're very curious about me in that way. Like, what is it that kind of pulls you in? Because it's like this book is a very strange book. It's a very unique and loving and aggressive and amazing and incredible and transforming and challenging and peace-giving and loving and correcting book. There is so much in this book. So this Bible right here, this book contains all the ideals, right? All the ideas in the ideals. So it bears discussing from more of a macro idea of what is this Bible? Like, why do we do this? And why is it so hard? And so let's shift our perspective a little bit and let's do some analysis and examine this a little bit more. And let's talk about it from an attachment lens. If you remember, I'm a marriage and family therapist and I specialize in attachment. That's what I do. Anything that I pursue in life, I don't care what it is, I look at it through an attachment lens. And very particularly, the Bible would be my attachment book to the Creator. One of many ways that I attach to the Creator. The stars, the sun, the waves, the wind, music, fellowship. There's prayer. There's so many ways that we connect with the Father because He has given us abundant ways to reach Him, hear Him, see Him. And but the Bible is just it's its own thing. And so I want to talk a little bit about, so is the Bible really, why is it so hard to follow? Okay. So I want to do a little myth busting here about the Bible being so hard to follow. I want to tell you this. Please hear this. The Bible really is not actually that hard to follow. I know that sounds like crazy because the whole Bible is talking about all of these wars and people suffering under their sin, or things happening that are so painful and difficult, and all these letters about denying our flesh. I mean, all of these things. I understand. I hear you. I know where you're coming from. But I want us to back up a few steps. And I want to look at this even from a bigger picture about, is the Bible really that hard to follow? Well, here's the situation. You've heard the term Babylon, right? So that's a sort of an idiom for modern day Bible hostile world. Okay. Not all of the world is Bible hostile, right? Not all the places we go are, but a lot of the places we go are. And Bible hostile is its own thing that would make the Bible hard to follow. Not because the Bible itself is so hard to follow, but because there's hostility against following it. Now, we have our own inner inclinations that are obstacles as well. We will talk more about that. We will definitely get into that. But as far as the Bible being so hard, it's really not that hard. Now, the Bible's separated into different components. It's not separated, but when we read it, we will kind of slip into different modes as we understand it, right? There's so much about the temple, which sounds really complicated and specific and designated and challenging and foreign and odd and strange, and it is all those things. It is. And I actually take a lot of comfort in that the temple is this sacred space that I don't necessarily really understand. I love that it's otherworldly. I love that my God is otherworldly as well as temporal in this realm to reach me and be with me. But I also love that there's mysteries that are teasers to understanding some of the depth of Him. I mean, believe me, not until the world to come do we actually really understand anything. But little hints, little clues, things that draw us in. This is a mysterious pursuit. It's not supposed to be everything we know and expect and predict. And the Bible is an unpredictable book because it reads you as much as you read it, and you can read it over and over. And we do that with the Torah portions every year. We go through the whole Bible in a year, and every year. This is true for me and most everyone I talk to who follows the portions, is that it's always different every year. We read the same thing. This is a very transformative book. But back to Babylon being hostile, and what has happened is we've created a system that is opposed to it. We have created a system, live in a system opposed to basically almost all of the Torah principles. Not in every way, because I will say I've known people and they said that their reason that they did not want to pursue a relationship with God because it really wouldn't matter, because they were good people. Wasn't going to change anything about the way they acted. They were still going to be good to people, nice to people, give and be, have great lives. So I'm not saying people that aren't good people, or they're not, you know what I'm saying. I just don't, want people to hear that in the wrong way. But in terms of being hostile to the gospel, right? That's a rhyme there. Yes, we do live in that world, right? We do live in a world that opposes living a biblical lifestyle. Now, was the Bible written to be difficult to follow? This is very important, because if we don't understand this, then we think the tail wags the dog, and actually we will follow the Bible with the absolute wrong mentality of the point of the Bible. It isn't to draw. I just personally, I don't believe that the Father wrote the Bible, dropped it in your lap and said, yeah, see if you can do that. Good luck with that. That's going to be a tough one. I don't think that was anything to do with, we might be making it that way, or thinking of it that way, or even treating people poorly and acting that way. That is not the way that this was not the purpose for this to be written. This is a book to be harmonious with our neighbor, to love people, to act orderly, to worship our God in his peculiar ways, right? Thank you that we have a peculiar God. I don't want a generic God that I understand every little thing, because if he created all and I'm me, yeah, that is way above my pay grade to even understand that. And I feel comfortable with that. So I don't feel this need to explain away everything that's happening or everything that this book says, because there's going to be things that you're going to come across and you're going to struggle with them. Now, I'm going to say 10 out of 10 times, if you're struggling in a core way that feels damaging, internally damaging to you, it's because you don't understand it. You're misinterpreting a word. You don't understand a cultural bias. You don't understand the impact it's supposed to have, or to whom it was written, or any of these features, if you're not understanding it. Because this book doesn't damage, right? This book repairs. It creates, it transforms, it sets up, and it heals. So, having said that as our intro, why is the Bible so hard to follow? So the Bible would not be that hard to follow, right? You'd have if we had an operating temple right now, the Levitical priesthood would run that. That would be their thing, and they would when the temple ran and was in operation, and the Levites ran it, that was generational. This was stuff they knew. This wasn't hard for them. It took dedication and investment, sure, like anything does. Our jobs, our children, going to college, anything we do is going to require an investment. And it's not stupid. Temple operation is not stupid. And I would recommend you learn about the temple. I would recommend it strongly. If you want to understand the Bible, learn to understand the temple, because it's not a waste of words about technicalities that are useless, because it's not currently operational on earth. But I would really recommend, Dina Dye and Rico Cortez. These are excellent temple teachers. Joseph Good, they write beautiful things. They do presentations. You can really learn, and they love the temple. It's their calling. It's what they do. That isn't my lane, and so I don't go in that lane, but I enjoy watching them ride by and share their wisdom with me. Really, really awesome. So anyway, always a plug for people that I respect. But what we have is we have a system that's hostile to the gospel. And we have people that don't understand the purpose of the Bible, because it has become so convoluted in our society about why we have a Bible, what the Bible means. And you know what? This is really damaging, because that causes an attachment wound between us and the Father, because this attachment tool has been misrepresented. And I'm really committed to trying to debunk a lot of those myths. Today, we'll do a couple. But I have a couple notes here that I'm going to look at, in that the Bible was supposed to be, now, our own personal inclinations notwithstanding, I'm just saying this. It was designed to make, for us to be choosing life, not death, right? The principles of the Torah are to keep us alive, and to keep us well, and to keep us harmonious, and to keep us safe. And it's a good thing, right? These are good laws. from a wise, intelligent God who knows how things should run. He created the earth. He tells us how it operates. This is really important. So if you think about this, if you learn this from when you're a child, anything you learn when you're a child becomes a part of you, right? Is that true? And unfortunately, we learn a lot of things we shouldn't learn as children, and we are exposed to things as children, and these things have lasting consequences that are very difficult. But I don't know if you're familiar with a behaviorist, B.F. Skinner. He was one of the pioneering, at least in terms of getting these things codified as models for therapy. But B.F. Skinner is a behaviorist, and a lot of people that are atheists think, that no believers could ever like anything that B.F. Skinner ever said, because basically, he was reducing humanity down to a housefly that's just sort of responding to reinforcements. But here's what I'm saying. If you pick B.F. Skinner as like a standalone theory, for sure, that's not going to answer these questions about what your core needs are. But it does explain some of the scientific truths and realities of the way that you're made, right? So Pavlov's dogs isn't antithetical to the gospel at all. It is not. It is a demonstration of the way we were made, so that we weren't always having to struggle every second about every decision. And if you can go with me on, this is an example I frequently use because I think it's very helpful. So think about when you're 2 or 3, or how old are kids now? I've raised 2 children, and I'm trying to think of how old they were when they were taking the stairs. But remember, when you don't remember, but if you have kids or you've seen children, when you're first taking the stairs, you just take a step at a time, but you're like, okay, you lift up your right leg and you put it on the stair, and then you have to remember to weight shift so that you're weight bearing on that right leg so that you can have traction to lift the left leg. And then that goes on the stair. And then you're like, okay, I've just shifted this leg and put this leg, your parents help. And you're just taking these stairs, and you have to think about each move, what leg to move next, where to shift your weight, and what to lift. But then think about now, think about if you take stairs, you are just running up the stairs, right? You're just going quickly. Your brain is designed to store that information habitually and behaviorally and react. So you can see stairs that are really, really narrow, have a very, they're short stairs, little stairs, and you're automatically going to know how to space your feet, and you're going to go up the stairs. It's incredible. And then if they're taller stairs, your brain will calculate that too, and you're going to have a wider stride, and you're going to go very quickly, and you're not going to think about each foot and how far it needs to land. So we're designed to be habitual creatures. So let's form these habits well. Let's teach our children well. It's supposed to be easy. It's not supposed to be perfectly easy, or there would be no relationship, no challenge, no, traction, tread, whatever you want to call. There wouldn't be the rub of this life where there would be the victory of relationship, right? So we do need that. But just sticking with the behavioral aspects of why would we teach our children this when they're young and not wait to let them pick their own, decisions when they're older? Well, I taught my children when they were very young from birth the laws of God, so that when they would grow up, these would be embedded in them. Now, when they get older, and then now they're older and they can make their own choices, and they do make their own choices and have made their own choices, and that's their thing, right? They can do that. But I'm going to sow those seeds of goodness of God's beautiful law into their lives. And so behaviorism is a way that demonstrates, because even the rocks cry out his name, demonstrates that he created us wonderfully and fearfully to obey his law easily. He loves us, and he's luring us with love all the time and safety, and adores his human beings that he made, that he created. And so it's very important to remember that the Bible, that is a good thing that we are programmed like that. We are not robots. But think about this. If you If I go into a store and I see, a table of like beautiful sweaters all folded neatly, how when we used to be able to go to malls and stores back in the day. And I don't look at those sweaters and just have to have a caucus with myself of whether I should steal one or not. Like, if I steal it, I could get away with it because I could like stuff it in my bag, but they might have an alarm on it, so I'd have to look for that. And then they might have a camera, and then they would see me, and then they would chase me, and then I'd get a record. And I don't ever go into a store and like have that discussion with myself, because it's not even an option on the table that I'm going to steal. That is not something I struggle with. That's me just taking the stairs. Like, I just go in, I look at the price. That's not on my budget, or I can afford that. And I either buy it or I leave it. But I don't waste any mental energy deciding about it. Welcome to the Bible, my friends. This is the book to plant how to take stairs. Don't steal a sweater. This becomes a part of you. And look at the good fruit in my life. I've not stolen sweaters, and I have not gone to jail. I have not had a criminal record. I'm not a thief. I earn what I get. So welcome to the Bible. That's the Bible. So this helps me with my fellow man, and it helps me with my Father, who also loves my other fellow man and doesn't want them to be robbed. So the Bible is really not that hard to follow in its core and in its construct. Now, we as people with free will, in our construct, we struggle. And that's fine. Struggle, anything of value and worth something is worth struggling for. Yes, we struggle. Now, we struggle in Babylon because it's hostile to the gospel. Wait, somebody's here. Shalom, Barb and Robin. This is Chance. Hi, Chance. I love when people pop in and chat us up. Oh, stay with us. Okay. Now I feel like the crowd's here. Because now we have got 3 together. And now we're 3 blinded court. Okay. Pardon my allergies. I hope they don't start acting up. It seems like this time of day, everyone's mowing, and I'm just starting to. Okay. So what was I just saying? Oh, somebody in the chat tell me. I don't remember, but I'm so glad that you jumped in, and I love being interrupted like that because that's what I want. I had an example. Okay, forget that. Let's just keep talking. Let me look at my notes, actually. Okay, so we have free will. Okay, that's where we were kind of going. So we're programmed to do well at following the Bible, but we're not programmed to follow the Bible. Why? Because if we're programmed, we're robots. And right, so if somebody pays somebody to come to your birthday party, are you really glad they're there? No, right? So free will is a big part. And I know there are a lot of people in different religions and systems, they don't believe in free will. And this might challenge you, but I'm going to tell you something. I believe the Father wove into this whole system something in it for him, which is your devotion, because he can't take that from you. He can't just take it. Devotion by its core is offered, and he can delight in that. That's what makes it a relationship, and not just I made that robot and it did what I said. So free will might look like a monkey wrench in this system where, hey, the Torah is great for people until you add the people, which is kind of true. But at the same time, this is where it gets interesting. This is what's important. This is the best part of this whole thing. Because even in the garden, Adam and Chava, what did they do? They were in a system set up for it to be very, very easy to obey the Torah, right? Very easy to follow the Bible. They had everything they needed. They had everything that they needed. But these aren't robots. These are humans, right? These are human beings. And what did they do? The serpent offered them an alternative to what God offered them. God offered them everything, but he was God and they were people. And he comes along and challenges that system and says, hey, you know what? You could be like God. You're not going to die. You're going to be like him. So Chava wants to be like God. So she was given everything, but in her free will, she wanted more. She wanted to be like God. So really, she's rejecting herself and the design and the function and the boundaries between human beings and Adonai, right? So that's what she did. So yeah, we are designed with free will, and we will do with that what we choose. And she is an example, she and Adam, because he was right there watching and thought it was a good idea too, or he wouldn't have done it. So they eat, right? So they're eating an alternative. They're trying to take an alternative into their lives so they can be like God. Perfect story to start out how human beings are, because we are like that. And therein lies our lifelong struggle to not challenge these boundaries of who he made us to be. We are our own worst enemies. I'm going to tell you something. We are most often our problem, and we are most often our solution. This has nothing to do with some devil or some enemy. It's us. Much of the time. I think there's a lot of talk about, some external force that's after us. And I don't think we're taking really as much responsibility that we do need to take for ourselves. Now, we have to be given the choice of the different trees to delight in the victory of the intimacy. And I don't mean victory like a game. I'm talking about celebration of intimacy that we have with the Father. Because it's so beautiful that he made us, and he believes it's so beautiful that we choose him. Everybody wins. So you have to have tread, you've got to have rub, and you've got to have a confrontation to an alternative. That's how it works, right? You got to have a self if you want to have a God. There has to be a demarcation between these two things. Okay. So we know that we do have flesh appetites that exceed the boundaries we were given. We do. And we have to have those. That's the way it will always be. From the first human to the last human. That's the system. Okay. Get used to it. And you know what? I'm going to judge by my opinion that we're used to it. We don't always succeed at it. And sometimes we do. Right? And this is what the fellowship is for. This is what the Bible's for. Because we are exceeding our appetite allowances, and we need a beautiful fence to show us where the pasture is, how to stay there, and how to dip into the mysterious, beautiful, otherworldly aspects of Adonai. It's not just what you see and hear here. It's better. It's more interesting. It's exciting. Creation is something to be amazed at. The Father, when we rest on the Shabbat, right, we are honoring that he is creator. It's an identifying activity on that seventh day. That Adonai rests on the seventh day, I rest on the seventh day. He told me to, I just do it. It's beautiful. It's not limiting. It's expansive. This book, let's keep going here. It was designed to be the law of all the people that choose it. So it's designed to be the governing factor in a theocratic nation. Theocracy, right? That's where the laws of this divine book become the laws of all the people. So you have Israel. And then you have places outside of Israel where people can leave Israel and choose to live the way they want to live. There's the option. There has to be another tree. There has to be some other place to go so that you can decide to stay or come back, right? Or leave. You have to have all of these elements in play to have intimacy, to have vulnerability, to have choice, to have love. What does it mean when your spouse or your friend drive hours to see you, to visit you when you're gone for a work trip, or when someone does, what does that feel like? That's like, wow, look at you. I just had my friend today saying, I'll be at this conference and let's connect. Just reaching out, right? Reaching out to each other. So that's important that we remember that. The trip is a big part of it. And it's going to be weird and it's going to be strange. It's going to go against some of the things that Babylon imprints in us. So let's talk a little bit about Babylon. And we talk about theocracy. Let me see if I have a few other notes on this stuff here. Let's see here. Okay, so we're going to get into some interesting things today. Okay. Okay, let's just take an example. I want to take an example of, I'm a marriage therapist. Let me take that one. All right, so I'm a marriage therapist. I've been doing this for lots of years, probably, I think, since 2001. So listen, marriage is a tough one. It is a blessing. It is an investment, right? And last week, if you go back and saw my show, I did divorce and remarriage in the Bible, and we talked about how sometimes marriage contracts get broken. We need to be able to manage that. And we talked about that. Well, marriage in Babylon, and so that's my idiom for our current situation here. I'm in the United States, so I'll just go with that. And marriage is different now. Marriage is so different. And when I talk about that book, people their eyes are open. They're like, I never even thought of marriage that way. Like, I never even thought of the contract like that. Like, I never even thought of the purpose, or it's not their fault. It's because people have been a little bit hoodwinked by the trimmings and the trappings of Babylon. Now, I'm not here to tell you that all the things in America or other parts of the world that are enjoyable and recreational are bad. Believe me, I am never going to be that person. I am not like that, and you'll never get that from me. But I will say this. If you just look at the movies, I want to take media. Let's just take media in general. So when you go to the movies, back in the day when we went to movies, when you go to the movies and you watch a movie. Now, I want you to know something about Babylon. I'm sure you know this. We're talking, right? We're just talking. Babylon has experts to make Babylon Babylon-ish, more Babylonish, right? It's really well constructed and it's really, really decorated. So you go to a movie and the movie is designed to elicit an emotional response, a favorable response, some sort of response to get you to tell your friends to go see it, right? Because it's always going to go back to that almighty dollar, right? That's a big deal with Babylon. Babylon's very coin-based. So you go to a movie and you've had experts that put together a film. And that film consists of actors, trained actors, people who do nothing but spend their time perfecting acting like other people well. Some don't do it as well as others, but that's what they're trained to do. And they spend their lives maintaining an image to do this, to be able to portray characters. You have people who write scripts and they work on them for years sometimes before it comes onto the big screen. And you have people picking apart the words and the way it's presented. And then you have a casting director to pick the right actors, and they try and they spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to find the right person with the right look, with the right type of brown eyes to do the thing. And then you have the costuming, right? Costume director, they put together all the exact clothing. And then you have the camera blocker. Well, they look a little thinner that way, and I love this, and this is a beautiful thing, and let's only film at this time of day. Then you have the musicians, and they compose the score. The perfect emotional score designed to just get into your heart when it's melancholy and expand you when it's exciting and scare you when it's suspenseful and just break you down into that, get right into your heart when the love part, right? And there's just drama. And they film it in locations, perfect locations that people have scouted 2 years before and gotten permits, right? That's a movie. They put it together for 120 minutes. Well, now some of them seem like they're like 12 hours long. But they put this together with the perfect music, the perfect lighting, the perfect filming, the perfect everything, actors, costumes. And then they promote it. They know who to promote it to and what time and how. And we go see it. And we forget that this is a Babylon invention that could be enjoyed. I'm not saying I don't enjoy movies. I love movies. Not all movies, but I love a lot of movies. And we forget because we go there, we sit. And the idea of media is it programs us. We're not just enjoying entertainment. We're taking this in as reality. It's not reality. It's designed to catch you right where you might fall off your attention. They come back and get you with something else. This isn't regular life. This is entertainment. But we forget that because they are so good at what they do. We forget this whole system is a creation to get us to pay to come again. And we compare our marriage to that. We compare our friendships to that. We compare our houses, the way we go to work, our boss, to these characters. They're designed to tell a story. That's what we do. Because we're normal human beings that do that. We respond to things we see. And things as clever as that, even in casinos, they hire psychologists to walk through and tell how many of this machine should be here and what lighting and where no clocks will be, which is not even a sentence, but do you hear me? Babylon is a beautiful trap. Now, I'm not saying these are always bad things, always bad. Be aware that this seeps into our consciousness and we take it on. Make sure you're ready for that before you go to a movie. That you can come home and not bring that movie with you, except maybe to share what happened. But don't come home and look at your husband and be like, you are just not enough. That guy that spends his whole life at the gym with a chef and a PR specialist that had professional makeup on and had a musical score behind him at the perfect light of day with the best dialogue written by the best screenwriters, you're not measuring up to that guy. Well, that guy doesn't measure up to that guy, okay? And they took that take probably happened like 15 times because that guy didn't measure up to that guy in that moment to that guy. I mean, do you understand? Let's not be trapped here. Let's remember where we are. So I'm not trying to put down recreation or entertainment because let me tell you something. Creation was designed to enjoy it with each other and with the Father and to celebrate him because he made it. So if I go to the spa for the day with my friend Barb, which I will be doing, so I'll invite her. And we have this massage or we're sitting looking at the ocean because I am here in Florida and it's so beautiful. And we're enjoying that. We're just talking and we're together and we have lunch and it's really delicious. And we have, our robes on and then we take a nice walk and there's flowers. I mean, you better believe we're going to enjoy that. And we're not going to have 1 ounce of guilt. We're going to be very happy. But if I'm doing that at the expense of somebody else, that's where it's governing me. And that's what happened to Adam and Chava. They got governed by this appetite to govern themselves. You are not your governor. The Father is. The government is on his shoulders, and he earned it through death. He earned it. More than earned it. Already had it because he was the creator. Almost feels crazy to say he earned it. But do you hear me? Do you hear what I'm saying? I'm not trying to put down any sort of fun recreation that is okay. Yeah, there you go. Barb's like, yes. Be aware of what you can do and what you can't do. And that doesn't mean pick yourself apart and be like, oh, I have to pray for 15 hours to see if I should go to lunch with my friends. I might, But if you're a big fat gossip head, you might not be able to go to lunch with your friends until you deal with that. that hurts other people. Do you understand what I'm saying? Everything can be used for good or for bad. So remember in Babylon makes it very hard to have a lovely lunch. The book does not. This book says be kind and honest and enjoy each other in fellowship. The wedding supper of the Lamb is a meal. Food is fine. This book gives you a lovely lunch when you do this book. When you put this book down and say, no, not doing that book, you know what you do? You run your mouth. Maybe you overeat. Maybe you don't pay the bill. Okay? This is not that hard in the context of lunch. And really, life is in the context of lunch. It's just things we do every day. How do we do them? Why do we do them? We are instructed to enjoy our fellow man. We are instructed to. We don't need to feel bad about it. But we will never let it govern us. And we will never try to govern others. It's not that hard. In theory. In practice, in Babylon, yeah, it's hard. Babylon does not observe the Sabbath. Everything is on Saturday that I want to do. I have to say no. Many things. It's tough. Now, when in a theocratic society of Torah, where nothing's even open on Shabbat, it's actually harder to break Shabbat. You go to Israel and, mid-Friday, early Friday afternoon, you just start seeing everything shut down. And everyone's kind of emotionally paced at the same time, kind of racing off to get to rest. Hurry up and rest. You have to work at violating the Sabbath. It's hard, right? You have to slip through loopholes, and it wasn't designed to hurt you and to separate you from people. Babylon's done that, but let's not blame this. Let's blame Babylon. That's why we have a place to go to get away from Babylon, right? Okay, we're getting somewhere. I feel like you're with me. I do. I feel like you're with me. I'm glad these people are on here today. Okay. So if we're speaking of marriage, and we think about the false world that the media has created. Actually, let me see what time it is, because that hour just goes by so fast. Oh my gosh, I gotta hurry. We're gonna just get two last points here. So marriage, from a Torah perspective, before we had all the movies to show us what losers we are and Instagram to show us the vacations we don't have, okay, let's just go and understand that context. Marriage is up against a lot these days. Marriage is a tough gig because of Babylon, right? It's hard. And I will tell you something I did. I want to, and just please don't judge me here, but I am a behavioral scientist and I specialize in behavior. So I like to, in marriage particularly, so I really like to study. And when I say study, I use that word fast and loose with this, but there's this show, it's called Married at First Sight. No, please don't judge me. But I could not help but watch that show because it's about couples that are, I just got a message. Maybe it's somebody who's seen it. I know everyone wants to do everything on Shabbat. Yes, Chance, it's true. Everybody's best moments are happening on that day. And I'm always like, and you know how it is? We're always like weighing out the weightier matter. Like, okay, it's going to hurt their feelings if I don't go to the wedding. And I do want to go to the wedding, and it's a beautiful thing. And I'll work it out this way. We're doing the best we can in Babylon. Yes, it's so true. But anyway, so to this show, Married at First Sight. So it's a show that's a reality show. And the conception of this show, I think they're on, I don't know, like 10 or 12 seasons or whatever. And it's a panel of experts. So there's like a sex therapist and a sociologist and a pastor and somebody else. Or it might just be three. But anyway, they have a marriage and family therapist, actually. And what they do is they pick people that volunteer to be on the show. And it's like an 8-week process where they find 4 couples. It used to be 3. Now it's like 4 or 5. And they match them based on their compatibility factors. Like, what's their religion? What are their life goals? Do they want kids or not kids? Or, were they raised in similar backgrounds? And what they're trying to do with their experiment is to show, and the reason is because arranged marriages have a lower divorce rate. Well, when your expectation's different, your outcome will be. That's a huge one right there. But anyway, so what they do is these are people that are sick of dating and they want to meet a life partner. They want a companion for life. So they go into this and they are specifically looking to get married, but they've not met the men haven't met any of the women. And so the experts take these thousands of people that apply and they put together these 4 to 5 couples. And these 4 to 5 couples, like, they don't know each other. They don't meet each other until the wedding day at the altar. Okay, so she buys her wedding dress. He gets his tux on. The show puts their wedding together. And they show up at the altar and they get married. They can choose not to, but they know, right? So they get married. They're married. And then that night they have their wedding dance and their families meet. And then that night they have the wedding night. Then the next day they meet the families for a little brunch, and then they take off for their honeymoon. The show pays for them to go away for a week, and they have a honeymoon, and then they move into an apartment that the show provides for them for the rest of the 8 weeks. So I think it's, 6.5 weeks or whatever left. And they work through if they can do this. At the end of the 8 weeks, of course, they have counseling throughout and they're checked in on, and they have highs and lows, ups and downs. At the end, they say, do you want to stay married or do you want to get a divorce? Now, I understand if you have a visceral response to this, that like that's making a mockery of marriage and you shouldn't be, promoting a show that's making a mockery of marriage. But I would disagree that they're making a mockery of marriage. I think they're actually trying to show that some of these ancient customs of arranged marriage, and the Bible does have arranged marriages, and not all of them are. And that's another topic for another time. But arranged marriages, just because it might not be culturally, culturally common to you and me, let's not be so, ethnocentric with our way. Because a lot of cultures find that to be very successful. And they're trying to show that compatibility and that love can actually grow out of compatibility. That love can grow out of commitment. And not so much, I saw this person, I was struck, and I couldn't wait to go meet them. This is a risk that they take. And sure, some of them make it and some of them don't. And some really do well. And some, have some very interesting. But watching that show is very educational for a lot of people. You learn about communication, you learn about different things, and to me it was a fascinating experience. But the media has created a false world, and what they're trying to do is show you the real world, the real way of what is your goal. And let's see. Now, I'm not saying go do that or be on that show or that I would even do it. I'm just saying it's interesting as a study of the way people approach relationships and how they manage. And I just find that really interesting. But when we think about the false world we're creating, I want to do something a little controversial here. What, me? Nothing to see here, Barb. Keep moving. No. In the false world that we have, or the Babylon system that we have like not embraced some cultures do. Different minority groups, and I use that term loosely as well because I have a lot of respect for a lot of things that people do that people from my cultural standpoint don't do. And I'm really jealous of a lot of it. And multi-generational living is one of them. And I think this is exciting. The Bible shows multi-generational contact from a much more revered place. And even my friend Holistic Illine, Dr. Illine, was talking about Google and how it's replaced grandma. We don't even have to go and ask our elders information. We can just Google it. It's sort of lowered that contact point where we needed these wise people. We still need them, but it's lowered one of their contact points. So I think that's really, really interesting. But multi-generational living is very hard for a lot of points in our culture because they're not raised thinking I'm going to be living with my mother-in-law or my whatever. I'm not going to be living with my mom when I'm older, taking care of her. Now, some of you do, but it's not a huge thing in all of the cultural points in the United States. And we have nursing homes and all that, where in the Bible, this was different, right? These people all live together, and that was a part of this system. But now it's like, imagine how differently we grow up and think about things. And emotionally pace our relationships and be aware of the boundaries that we're setting and keeping them healthy and good, knowing that we're going to be living together all the time, like when they're older. Do you understand? This changes the dynamics between relationships. So you're not just getting this, oh, I could never live with my mother. Because we are programmed not to even understand that that's a potentiality of the way that we live our lives as we lead up to adulthood. These are all points where Babylon misses. So just wanted to point that out as well. And so we haven't emotionally, put ourselves in this situation with our, like our attention span. And one more example I'll give you on attention span, because I think it's a great one to make, is when television came out, you had Sesame Street. And one of the things that Sesame Street wanted to do is they wanted to engage children in learning in a fun format. And the way they did that was they studied attention span. And there was a certain amount of time where attention span was optimized, and then it would have a quick drop off. And so what they did was they wanted to keep the child engaged in the lesson. I don't believe anything here was intentional that might have had a sort of a negative piece. I honestly believe this was a way to use programming of television, educational and fun. And so my dog, I can hear my dog at the door. So what they would do is they would have a little lesson, and at the right amount of time when they knew the child's attention span had optimized and now it's going to drop, they would immediately go into the next lesson. So instead of pushing the child one more minute because they were interested in the colors and the puppets, they didn't push enough, and actually attention spans decreased with that sort of educational format. Now, I don't think that was intentional, but I'm just saying this is an example of Babylon trying and doing their best with all the bells and whistles, and that didn't always work. It didn't mean it was bad or evil or horrible or whatever, but it didn't really take into account the whole Torah perspective of going that extra minute, right? Not being satisfied that second all the time. Even just now with our phones, right? This thing. When I was younger, and like I said, this thing is a Babylon thing that has destroyed me in so many ways. Can I spell anymore? I have autocorrect. If I need to reach somebody, I don't have to wait till I get home or pull over and find a phone booth. It's like I can call, I can text immediately. I mean, these have ramifications on our behavior and our expectations and our relationships. So just be aware of that. But I want to take one point and I want to give an example of one of the things that we do. And I'm going to go into something that might be a little weird for you, but I wanted to use a common example, and I want to challenge people a little bit. And if I haven't done that, I feel like I'm remiss as an advocate for challenging humans. Yes, Chance, he's in agreement with me about multi-generational cohabitation. Yes, it's very important. In our family, we practice that actually. And yeah, that's a good one. Thank you for popping in there. I appreciate that. But I want to talk about something. I want to use a modern example so we can just sort of talk about something that's happened. And I'm not going to render a judgment on it at all, because I am not the judge and I don't know what's going on. And none of us know with this situation what's going on. But I want to take something in pop culture and I want to talk about it a little bit. And I want to bring a little light into not what to think about it, but how to think about it and how to know we don't probably know what to think. So let me just challenge you a little bit. Okay. Because I want to talk about Babylon. I want to talk about cultural impact and the way it affects people and the way we judge and the way we look at things. So we talked about lunch. Don't go to lunch if you can't not bash everybody else that's not at lunch. If you can have a lovely lunch and bond with people over food, have lunch. Okay, so here's we go. But I want to talk about this event. I'm actually going to share a screen, but this is an event that's had a lot of fallout and a lot of controversy. So I thought it would be perfect to be controversial with you today. So let me pull this up. I'm going to share a screen. We're going to talk about this. Ready? Okay. We're sharing a screen. You know what that is? And all the pictures I'm using here are fair use. I got them from YouTube and they're fair use. But there you have the royal wedding. You have Harry and Meghan. And what's interesting about Harry and Meghan, and I like to use them as this example to kind of just examine before we hang up today when we'll be done in about 5 minutes, but I want to talk about them because this has been a riveting story for a lot of people. Now, I don't know if you're interested in the British royal family like I am, but I am sort of obsessed with them because I can't help myself. I can't help it. I couldn't wait. I was actually in Israel when this wedding happened, and I woke up at whatever time in the morning. It was less early there because the time difference was different, but I woke up and I used the little bit of bandwidth I had, and I watched a segment of the wedding just so I could say I did, right? And then, of course, when I came home, it was on my DVR and I watched the whole wedding. And this was interesting to me because you have Harry, and Harry is a Brit, and he was born in the royal family. Like, he was born in that system. And he was always the rogue young one. But, and, oh, I'm so glad, Chance. I can't wait to see you again, too, when you come into the show and watch. I'm glad you're enjoying it. And then you have him, he's sort of the rogue one. And then you see this American actress. Now, she's biracial, which I love, and I just think she's beautiful. And I was very interested in this because I wondered, I thought, I watched Kate and William's wedding and was totally obsessed with that wedding. I loved it. I couldn't wait to see the carriages and the tiaras and the dress. I just couldn't get enough of it. And I just love it. And I know people think it's horrible. Like, we should only care about the wedding supper of the Lamb. I've got a lot of that stuff because I was kind of on Facebook with it and people would argue. And I thought, we can enjoy all kinds of weddings. Yeshua went to a wedding and turned the water into wine, and he enjoyed the wedding, and it wasn't his wedding. So there's nothing wrong with enjoying a wedding. And this is a part of history. And I was really excited, and I really loved Meghan Markle, and I really wanted her to just get in the family and just freshen things up. That's judgmental of me to say that the British royal family needs freshening up, because who am I to say that? You see, I'm challenging everything right now. If you can understand what I'm trying to do here, I'm trying to show you something. As I talk, I'm going to untalk myself, because here I am. I want her to shake things up, bring more this, bring more that. But who am I to say the British royal family needs to change? Like, that's not my role. You see how judgmental we are? We already think our culture's better because we don't even understand that culture. And we judge Her Majesty the Queen when she didn't hug little Charles when she got off the train. But we don't know her. We don't know the system she grew up in. We can watch documentaries, but watching a documentary about something is very different from living it and becoming a product of it. Okay, so listen to what I'm saying. Just let's have a critical way of thinking, and to think ourselves out of judgment. We can do this, because if you're judgmental, you're the problem and you're the solution. The Father's given you the ability and the book to change that, and he will transform us. I'm not crediting us, but we have to step forward in the way that this is thought. And I wanted to bring this up because this is all the rage, and it's calmed down a little bit now. But let me share a screen, because here we go. Ready? Share screen. Okay. So let me share this, and let's go to the next photo. Okay. Okay. Now here at the wedding, let's see how judgmental we are. And let's judge ourselves as judgmental. Okay. So here's the guy, the pastor. If you watch the wedding, I mean, he did a beautiful job. The Power of Love. He did this beautiful ceremony. I mean, I loved it. And she had this beautiful black choir. It was just beautiful. And I watched that wedding, and I was so excited, and I was so touched, and it was a beautiful day. And I just remember every time I watch it, I just get that good feeling of this beautiful day and this hopes of all of these mingling factors coming in, and a breeze coming into that church through this guy and this woman. And then it just was nice that people that were different were coming together and they were enjoying this moment. And I loved his sermon. But then you're getting people that are afterwards putting out YouTube videos, and what are they doing? And I'm so glad no one's doing this to me. They're filming me, and then they're judging me. They think they know what I'm thinking or doing or saying and why I'm doing and thinking and saying it. Let me show you. This is the example. Again, all these pictures from YouTube, not copyright infringing anything. Okay. That's one of the princesses. I don't know if that's Eugenie or Beatrice. You would think being obsessed with the royal family I would know, but I never remember those two apart. But it looks like when you see it, it looks like she's kind of chuckling and sort of giggling, and you see other members of the royal family having the same reaction. And so our immediate reaction is we just want to like judge her. We want to judge the whole royal family and like, oh, look, they can't, we're almost done. They can't even like lighten up. They can't even have fun. That this guy's doing this beautiful sermon and they're rolling their eyes and they're whatever. And let me tell you something. That is so unfair. And I am going to just challenge you on this. If this was you and me, okay, because it was, can I be honest here? That was me. And I really had to step back and say, Robin, wait, do you really know everything you think you know? Do you really think that that's what's happening? How do you know? Some people, when they're a little uncomfortable, just get a little giggly. I mean, do you know how many people are like that? A lot of people. And if this is new and it's not something they're used to, and it's this sort of solemn, or a wedding was just maybe in their system, it's not what ours is, right? They don't have the same cultural impact in a recreational way, in an entertainment way, in their institutional celebrations. That's not bad. It's just how they are. So if we look at her and we're judging her and thinking she's wrong, you know what we're missing? This. Because we don't know her. And here we are just ripping her apart. She's stuffy. She's wrong. Let me go on to another picture. Look at me defending the royal family here. All right, I want to look at this quote. I'm going to share a quote. Ready? We'll get to the next picture. Okay. Besides, as the vilest writer has his readers, so the greatest liar has his believers. And it often happens that if a lie be believed only for an hour, it has done its work, and there is no farther occasion for it. Falsehood flies, and the truth comes limping after it, so that when men come to be undeceived, it's too late. The jest is over, and the tale has effect. Jonathan Swift, 1710. What about that? You know, I think it was at Mark Twain, a lie can go around the world before the truth has even gotten on its shoes, or something like that. I don't know. I think that's a controversial quote, and they're not sure who did it, but right? Let me show you this. So let's get out of our judgment pool, and let's look at this picture, and let's get a little context with the royal family, because we obviously know everything about the royal family. We obviously understand their life. We do, right? But this is their life. This is what they know. They're born into duty, and they do it. Not always perfectly, nor do I, nor do you. But look at that balcony. This is something you don't understand. Don't tell me you understand that, because I know you don't. I certainly don't. And let's look at this. Let me go to the next picture here. I want you to see the other view of that. When they're on that balcony, which is like right here, that's what they're seeing. You might need to cope with that. Maybe you're going to be a little bit more reserved. This is a constitutional monarchy, and this is a system that's to bring integrity to their nation and namesake. And do you understand that? No, you don't understand that. You don't get that, how hard that could be, right? So if I go to this last picture, we go, so here we are. We're judging the royal family. They're not really open enough to her. Right? I was like that. But then we get to, but hey, entertainment in Babylon needs to have something to talk about. And so let's talk about this now, because this is what it turns into. Let's look at this. This is USA Today picture. There you have what they call mix it, right? That's where, oh, see, I told you. They couldn't handle her. She couldn't handle them. This is over, awful, whatever. And then you get this vicious attack on Meghan Markle of with 1,000 knives, right? She was dying a death of 1,000 knives. Okay. So stop screen. It's going to end here. So you have an American California girl actress, and you have a British prince, and they struggled in that environment together. They couldn't do it. Is that surprising? Do you know how hard that would be to be, having this free, easier lifestyle, or, this more work-oriented actor lifestyle, and then try to do that, and maybe you fail. Maybe you just can't quite wrap your head around it. And maybe if you're in the British family, you just can't quite change your ways and downshift that quickly, and you fail at bringing something awesome in. Who knows? I'm just suggesting ideas of how it could have gone. But I would encourage you, and even in this situation, to not pretend you know. And it looks painful for all those people. And I don't think it's weird that an American doesn't want to share their child in the same way as British monarchies used to. With all these things, this would be hard. But there was just so much judgment and so much harshness, and it just felt so mean. And even do you remember when the Duchess of Cambridge, Kate, when she was pregnant with her first child and she had severe morning sickness, she had to be hospitalized? I remember watching people talk about how she's so fortunate to be rich, she gets to be hospitalized. I had to still drive my kids to school and throw open a pot on the way. Like, all these women just coming against her, like she's in the hospital, she can't stop getting sick. It just it brings out the worst in people. Instead of oh, that's a terrible feeling, I hate that feeling. There's just so much more to people than what we think we see across the pond, right? And these two ponds, they just couldn't work. Well, that happens. So I don't judge on this matter anymore, even though I had my moments of forming my opinions. But does this help you today? I wonder if it does, because I want us to be consciously aware of Babylon and where Babylon's gotten into us, how it's programmed us, how it's affected us, how it's pushed our buttons and gotten us aggressive and gotten us to feel like we always need to have an opinion. Always have an opinion. So have an opinion as long as you can debrief it with, I don't really know. And based on my experience, which has nothing to do with any of those people, this is how I see it here, sitting at, in TGI Fridays, you know what I'm saying? Just remember, as we have these discussions, who you are. And remember this book, right? It is not hard to follow this book and talk about the royal family. See it from different angles. Be generous, be kind. And know that the Father's at work. He's doing what he does, and he does it well. So there's really nothing in Babylon that will prevent us. Now, we are going to be doing the best we can, and there are things Babylon is shutting us down for. And we walk through that together. That's just the way it's going to be. That's what Babylon is. But the Bible is not hard to follow. Babylon is. I want to evangelize that message to everybody who wants to think that God lets bad things happen. Because if you ask God, can I go torch that building and kill that person? He's going to be like, no, he doesn't let it happen. But he doesn't program you either. So there's a victory here for us because of the potential for connection and intimacy with our God by our choice and his delight. I wouldn't want any other way. Though it's a rough gig here. That's why we have to pray for each other. We have to have each other's backs, right? We have to have each other's backs on this earth because it's really, really hard. And the more people's back you can have, the more people that have your back, the easier it's going to be. Without compromising and capitulating so that the appetites of our flesh govern us over other people or make us govern other people or make us try to be our own governor above God. As long as that doesn't happen, that's where we're getting all these New Testament letters about dying to the flesh. Not dying to enjoying a grapefruit. It's like, don't sell your soul to Babylon and hurt other people in the process. Let's not let the tail wag the dog. So I have enjoyed talking about this. I don't know why the royal family came up, but it just came to me as something that would be interesting and something that is in your common, everyday, constant. It's in the media stream, right? It's just constantly there. So I've enjoyed talking about this. I wanted to just kind of touch base on this Bible. And if you have friends and they're upset with this book, you know what? Send them this video. And if you are upset with this book, I get that. Babylon is upset with this book. I'm not saying you're Babylon. What I'm saying is, if you notice that it's hard and goes against the current, you're perceptive. Yes. So no judgment on you, but let's work together. Let's just see what we can come up with, because I have your back. And as I always say, the future begins now. So whatever you thought 10 minutes ago, 1 hour ago, whatever, we can change it, because the future begins now, right now. The tree you wish you'd planted, best other time to plant it, now. So that is how it works. Anyway, I'm really glad that we got this time together. Thank you, people, for popping in and chatting. I very much enjoyed watching what you had to say and that you were engaged, and I appreciate that. So I guess what we'll do is we will see you next week, and we'll discuss another interesting topic. And I look forward to it. I really, really understand that we need this time together, and we need to talk about stuff, and we need to talk about real stuff in a way that is, I don't know, simpler and more culturally relevant. And I like to dip into things like that. So thank you for your time. And I look forward to seeing you again. And New Covenant Path, www.newcovenantpath.com. That's my website, and that's how you can find me. So remember, the future begins now. Thanks. Bye.
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hoogie, thanking you for joining us on the Messianic Lamb Video Network.